May of 1935, we're incorporated as a fraternity. We're now 78 years old as I record this in 2013. In order to build the house, we needed to raise a lot of money. We actually bonded it by putting out an appeal to the brothers and selling part of the debt. So we actually mortgaged it from the alums. And we raised about 18,000 or so that way towards it. We had the 10,000 from the Phi News. But it wasn't going to be a very spectacular house. And the planning got delayed. So everybody's crowding into the little Gamma Delta Upsilon house for meetings and on alumni weekends and stuff. And it's tight. And there's not a lot of room for alums or anything. And people aren't too happy, but we're trying to raise a house and we're trying to build something here. In August of 1936, the Lambda Chi Alphas down the street were out of brothers, they were out of money, and they had a structure. And they weren't going to stay around much longer, and they knew it, and they were in trouble. And they had friends at the new Gamma Delta Chi who were alums, so they approached them and said, look, how about if you do the same deal for us? And our bylaws were constructed in such a way, the early bylaws of the corporation, that there were so many seats for the Gamma Delta Upsilons, there were so many seats for the Phi News, and we had a very large board, and then over successive elections, the board would shrink in size to its present size of 12. But it was guaranteed that there were so many seats for each of these brotherhoods. It would ease the merger of everybody. So we just revised the bylaws and merged with the Lambda Chi Alphas. Now it's funny to note that at this time they had about $12,000 in their account, and one of the alums, I believe it might have been Monsi, wrote in a letter to Arms, they've agreed, they're on board with the program, we can do this at a meeting, let's call a board meeting, but I wonder if we're being mercenary for selling them admission to the house. Well, of course they were. And the house we have is partly because they brought in that money. It was about a fifth of what we needed to build the place. So we can now plan a much bigger building. So they go back to the architects and they begin revising plans and structuring for something much bigger. The Lambda Chi Alphas sell their building to the college. It becomes the Occam House eventually. It became, for a while, I believe it was a dormitory for nursing students, some of the female nursing students at the college. But by and large, we're now a much bigger organization. We're now 3 fraternities, which takes us forward 4 more months, 5 more months, and we get approached by the Alpha Sigma Phi's. They're next door to us, and their property had been what was known as the Clark School. It was a small day school in town. They had taken over for a fraternity. It was called the Clark School. I believe it was still the Clark School Corporation, because the fraternity had just bought the corporation. But the Clark School property burns down in a fire in 1936. And at this point, the college isn't interested in the property, and they have an insurance settlement for $10,000. So they approached the Gamma Delta Chi's the same way the Lambda Chi Alphas had, and they cut the same deal. So now suddenly, instead of having 2 fraternities merged, 3 fraternities merged, we have 4, which gives us blocks of 80 alums per class for a while, which is all the money we need to support the fundraising and to support the mortgaging of the facility. Now we have $62,000, and we can build a house. So they go to Wells Hudson Granger, which is a group of architects, and they get the drawings done for the house, and they produce a spec book.